Hello, hello, hello. I'm your resident bibliophile and royal witch, Empress Celestia Libri. Welcome to today's stream, everybody. And welcome back, everybody, including myself. Yay, I made it back. I'm still alive. What a week. Oh my goodness. My trips that I take are usually not so eventful, especially like the traveling part. Usually for me, traveling is just you do the thing, you get it done, you arrive at the destination. It's pretty boring. There's like not much special that happens typically for me when I travel. There are people out there that, I guess seem to always have some kind of trip story. I am not one of those people. And this was not one of those trips. Boy, do I have stuff to talk about. I had stuff happen on both ends of the trip. So both days, both times of traveling there and traveling back, I had stuff happen, and that is not typical for me at all whatsoever. So yeah. So I've got some stuff to talk about. Oh my goodness. Okay. So to start things off, Wednesday night. So I was flying to my destination on Thursday. Thursday morning was my flight. So for that, we went up Wednesday night, and then we were going to spend the night at a hotel close to our airport, which I could then walk to from the hotel and do my thing, get on the plane, blah, 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 whatever. So we go up Wednesday night via train. And the train was late, which, for those of you not in America, Amtrak is kind of notorious here. Our passenger train system is typical. It is typical for them to be late. But they weren't just like 2 or 3 minutes late. I want to say it was like 10, 11, 12, like 10 to 12 minutes late, which is more than usual, I think. And come to find out, there was this other train that was like very late, that was ahead of our train. And so when that train arrived at our station, they were like, oh yeah, that train, our train, is like right behind us. You can see the headlights from here, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's peachy. So that train leaves the station. Our train pulls in. We get on the train. And we had like a few stops from where we were at to where we needed to go. So, we trek along and we're, stopping at all the stops that we need to stop at. And it gets to the point where we're at the stop that's right before our stop. So our stop is the very next stop. So we're at that stop, and, we get ready, people get on, off, whatever. And then we push off. So our stop is the very next stop. And we don't necessarily go super far, I don't think. I can't remember how long we were on the train. And after that stop. And all of a sudden, the train starts to brake. And I'm not talking like slowing down to be able to get around like a really big or sharp curve or whatever. I'm talking like it is putting on its brakes. Okay. And comes to a complete stop. Well, that's not typical. We're not at a station. So what's going on? And because of the train ahead of us, we figured, well, okay, maybe they had a stop for some reason. And because our train is behind that train, well, we're kind of forced to have to stop too. Well, an announcement comes over the speakers. You know, I think they might have apologized, like, you know, sorry for the inconvenience, blah, 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 whatever. There was a passenger strike. Okay, well, what the hell is a passenger strike? And what that means is that there was a trespasser strike. I think I said passenger. Anyways, whatever I said, there was a trespasser strike. And what that means is that there was literally a trespasser on the tracks that got struck by the train. Well, that's not good. That's a problem. So we had to sit there and wait for the authorities to show up, conduct their investigation. Come to find out, it was a fatality, unfortunately. So then we had to wait for the coroner to show up and do their investigation. So we weren't stopped like for a mere 5, 10, 15 minutes and then, you know, could go on our merry way. No, we were stuck there for a long time. And I had to get up early the next day and everything, but we're sitting there. By the time we're finally able to go, the delay was something like 3 hours and 40 minutes. Not great. So we were supposed to get in at our stop at like 9 p.m. All right. We got in around like 1 p.m. And then by the time we got to our hotel, got ready for bed, got in bed, and all that jazz, it was like around 1:30 a.m. And I had to get up at 5. So I was lucky to even get like somewhere between like 3 and 3.5 hours of sleep. And I had to travel all day. Okay? So this is not good. Not good at all. So 5 o'clock comes around. Wake up. Get myself ready. Walk to the airport. Get through security. Get to my gate. And get on the plane. I fly to my layover. Now, I was traveling for the first part of the trip that I was traveling for was for a wedding that I happened to be in. I was a bridesmaid. Now, the day that I was flying, which was Thursday night was the bachelorette dinner and party afterwards. Okay. So that meant that when I landed at my destination, I had to drive to the party or to the dinner to do dinner, socialize, all that stuff, and then do like the hangout party afterwards. On 3 to 3.5 hours of sleep and traveling all day. So I get to my layover airport and I go to get changed because the bride wanted us to like dress up. Well, typically when you fly and it's, you know, for pleasure, leisure, whatever, you're in normal everyday casual clothes, which I was. So I had to go into the bathroom and change into my fancy clothes, trying to save time so that way I wouldn't have to do all of this stuff there once I got there. So I'm like, okay, I need to change and do my makeup while I wait for my next flight, and I'll save time that way. So I'm not doing all of this once I get to my destination. Oh my gosh. So I get I get into the bathroom and I change, and then I go to like come out and set up all my stuff so I could do my makeup. Well, I happen to look towards the exit and I see this janitor guy with his cart and everything, and he's clearly waiting for all the women to get out of there so he can clean the bathroom. And I'm like, oh great, this is gonna take me a while. This isn't gonna take me like 60 seconds to do, a face of makeup. So it was awkward to be like, okay, I'm gonna make this guy wait while I do my makeup, but I'm like the only woman left in the bathroom that he's waiting for. So I just picked up all my stuff and I left. And sure enough, not that much longer after I come out of the bathroom, and he's like yelling in the bathroom, making sure that there's nobody else in there so that way he could clean it. And I'm like, great, whatever. But there was no other bathroom nearby for me to go in and try to get my makeup done before the flight. So I go to my gate and wait to board the plane. And then I had the thought that like, okay, well, maybe on the plane I could do my makeup, right? So I had like 2 other women in the row with me sitting next, beside me. I had the aisle seat, but then there's all those other people on the plane that could see what I'm doing. And so I ended up not doing my makeup. I also had the thought of like going into the bathroom on the plane, and like starting my makeup anyways, but I didn't end up doing that either. So I'm not getting any of my makeup done, which means I'm not saving any time. And we land at my destination airport. I had also checked a bag, which means I had to go to baggage claim and wait for my bag. And while there, I at least started like putting on foundation, but that was it. And then I took the rest of the time to just wait there for my bag, grabbed my bag, went to like start walking towards like getting my rental car. And then I'm almost to like the rental car place, and before exiting the door, I hop into the bathroom to finish my makeup. Talk to like a few women in there, and kind of like the whole commiserating of like I'm traveling while I'm prepping for like a special event and blah 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 whatever. So we had like an interesting little conversation. I finished my makeup. I get to my rental car. I didn't have a key, because some of the key cars now have just a push button. It wasn't a push button. There was an actual keyhole. And I'm like, well, I don't have a key. He didn't give me a key. So I exited the car, looked for, a representative, got the same guy. He comes over and he goes into like the cup holder, and there's the key. And I'm like, well, I didn't think to check the cup holder for the key. Oh my gosh. So I then finally take off. I arrive at the dinner like 8 minutes late, put on my jewelry and my lipstick to finish my look. And I get in there to finally like socialize and have dinner. Oh my gosh. So we have dinner, and then we drive to the place where we were going to be hanging out for the evening, which happened to be like the maid of honor's place, who I was also going to be staying with while I was there. So we get there, I bring in my stuff, and we have some drinks and some snacks, and we chat and whatnot. And then I get to bed late, which that was the theme of the week. Was getting to bed late and probably not getting enough sleep. So I get to bed late, get up the next morning. So that's Friday. It's Friday now. And we had to decorate for the wedding. So we get to the venue at like after 10 a.m. Start to decorate. 5 o'clock rolls around and we had to leave to go to the venue where the ceremony was taking place. And do rehearsal plus rehearsal dinner. The venue where the reception was happening wasn't done being decorated. So once we did the rehearsal and rehearsal dinner, we had to drive back, try to finish things up at the reception place. And then we go back to the maid of honor's place, and there was like me and one other guest staying with her. One other person staying with her. And we yap for a little bit. Then the guest and I go upstairs and we yap for a little bit until like 12:43 a.m. So again, it's late by the time I finally get to bed. So then Saturday, which happened to be Valentine's Day, was the day of the wedding. So yes, the bride and groom, they got married on Valentine's Day, but the wedding itself was not Valentine's Day themed. It was just like winter wedding theme sort of thing, which was nice. So wedding day arrives, and I did not have to be ready to go anywhere to do anything until like 20 after 1. So I had the whole morning to do like whatever, which was nice. However, I did not feel great that day, and not physically, but like emotionally, I was not doing well. I was kind of emotional and not in a good way. I'm still not really sure like what all was happening or why I was emotional in a bad way, but it was weird. But luckily I snapped out of it when it mattered. Got ourselves ready. We were late. Got some pictures before the ceremony. Got ourselves to the venue where the ceremony was taking place. And while we were waiting for things to start, I got nervous. I don't know why I got nervous. It's not like I was the one getting married. I was just a bridesmaid. So I don't know what happened there or why that happened. But it did. So then it was go time. And they had like a live pianist playing music and stuff. And there was like a junior bridesmaid person, and then there was me, and then 2 other bridesmaids, and then the bride. And the junior bridesmaid was going first. And so she just starts to take off down the aisle, and the music hadn't switched yet to the music that we were supposed to walk down the aisle to. Like, there was no transition thing yet, and she just starts walking, and I'm like, what do we do? Like, all of a sudden we were in a panic because, like, she was far enough to where we couldn't, like, call her back because, like, people could already see her walking down the aisle. And so it was just like, oh, great, what do I do? Do I go after her? Do I... There was like this weird... It was not great. So we started off the ceremony with a blunder. Oh my gosh. So I start to walk down the aisle, but I took it like really slow. And I didn't get very many steps in, thankfully, when the music then changed. And I'm like, okay, now I can walk normal. This is what I'm supposed to walk down to. So then the rest of us walk down the aisle. Oh my gosh. And then during the ceremony, they decided to do this thing where they had the rings tied together, and then you take the rings and you pass them around and do like a ring blessing. And what the bride wanted to do was that it would start with the bridesmaids, and each one of us would be handed the rings, and you say like a really quick blessing over it, and then you pass it on to the next person. And then there would be somebody at the end, once the junior bridesmaid was done with her blessing, she'd give it to that person, and that person would then take it to the congregation. And then like the first couple of rows were to do a ring blessing, and then it was to come back up to the groomsmen. The groomsmen would say their blessings, and then it would end with the best man, so that way the best man could then give the rings to the bride and groom. So we start the process of the ring blessing, and the lady then that is to bring it to the congregation gets the rings, and she starts the process of helping to get it passed around. Well, she apparently didn't get the memo somehow that it was only supposed to be like the first couple of rows on each side. And the rings ended up going through all of the people in the congregation. So it ended up taking a lot longer than it was supposed to. Oh, and when the whole process started, so there was supposed to be music playing during this time, and when the process started, there was no music. So there was absolute silence while there's just people like saying their blessings over the rings and passing it around. Finally, the music comes on after a certain period of time. So that was interesting. And so then, we're having to wait up there. Now, the bride and the groom, they were fine. They were yapping, between themselves and, like, with the person presiding over the wedding and all that kind of stuff. Like, they were fine. They were having a ball up there. They didn't seem to care. Like, it is what it is. And they're just yapping away, doing their thing. And the rest of us are just like, nice. Okay, we'll just stand here and wait, So finally that process gets done, ceremony gets finished, and then there's pictures and all of that. Get the pictures done, went to the reception. That ended up being kind of interesting in its own way. I'm not going to go into details about that though. And then but again, it created like another kind of late night for me. And then got to bed and got up the next morning, and I had to drive from there to my next destination to start like part 2 of my trip, which that was like a little over a 3-hour drive. And so I had to get up early enough in the morning, get all my stuff in the car, drive, and I met somebody at a restaurant to have lunch with them. That lunch, the place that we were at initially was like, oh, it's gonna be like a 35-40 minute wait, and we're like, I told the person that I was with, I'm like, I don't have that kind of time. So we went somewhere else to eat lunch. We didn't necessarily have a ton of time to like sit and chat and eat. I was on kind of like a time crunch. So I had to drive a little over 3 hours. I had to leave by a certain time. I had to drive. I had to do lunch. I had to end that, then go to another place, do stuff there, then go to the airport, drop off the local airport, drop off my rental car, get picked up by another friend, and then drive back to her place. So it was another crazy day. So I had lunch, left there, went to, so I wanted to visit like my grandparents' grave. I did that. I got gas. I went to the airport, dropped that off, ended up in a conversation with one of the workers there. Got picked up by my friend. Finally got back to her place. And then hung out for the evening, did dinner, whatever. And I think I got to bed late again. And then Monday, what happened Monday? Oh gosh. What the hell happened Monday, I saw, so this friend that I was staying with, we were actually many years ago, we were next door neighbors as children, and our families got to know each other, and us kids then became friends. And after my family moved away, I still kept in touch with their daughters, and we kept our friendship going through the years. And I'm no longer friends with one of the sisters, but I am with the other one, which is interesting. And she's married and has kids, and I'm like an aunt to her kids now, which is cool. Yay me. So I know the parents as well, having, been next door neighbors and stuff. So I went to visit the parents on Monday, and we were there for a few hours. And that ended up having its own little escapade because we were kind of getting ready to go, or starting to wrap things up, because my friend wanted to get her kids lunch and then down for nap time. And before we could leave, though, so the parents have a dog, and the dog was making a fuss at the front door. So my friend's mom opens the door and immediately shuts it. Now, I had also seen what was on the other side of the door that made her quickly close the door again. And it was a possum. Right at the door. And there's like this mudroom out there that then has steps leading up to the front door. So it had come technically like inside the house, if you will. Like it came into the mudroom and up the stairs and was right there at the front door. So then they're talking about like, what do we do now? Apparently this possum had been sniffing around for the last few days or a little while or whatever it was. And so they're like, well, we need to get rid of it. And especially too, since possums are nighttime creatures, and yet it was daytime and this thing was walking around and awake. So is it rabid? Is it not? This isn't good. Especially with it being comfortable with actually like starting to come into the house and up to the front door. So they're like, okay, we need to get rid of it. And so over a lengthy period of time, the father is like trying to get rid of it. And the thing's like not dying for him to like get rid of it and dispose of the body. And finally the thing dies, and so he can get rid of it and stuff. But it just fact that there was any kind of like commotion while I was there was interesting, and it's like, this is familiar. This is nice. I'm home. Oh gosh, I am in the country. So yeah, that was interesting. I'm like, I brought the drama to you. You're welcome. Something happened because I'm here, sort of thing. And so then we ended up having lunch at their place instead, so that way the kids could get fed. Instead of waiting until we got back to my friend's place. And then Tuesday, I ended up, so I went to this one certain school as a kid for a few years. And the school, while attending this school, in my last year specifically that I was there, which would have been 3rd grade, I ended up getting bullied. And, that wasn't great and caused issues for me. And in the last few years, I've taken some time to like try to deal with it in a way. That was like a few years ago. I can't remember how many years specifically, but a few years ago, I ended up dealing with it a little bit. And I had wondered for a long time, like, thought of, what would happen if I ever went back to the school and like went inside and looked around, and I, had thought about that sort of thing of like, how would I react, and trying to think of like, what would I think? What would I say? What would I do? What would happen? And it just so happens that it has opened, so it closed down as a school just like a few years after I had left it. But somebody bought it up, and so it was opened again and was being used in, like a few different ways. But one of the things that it's being used for is like a dance studio. And my friend happened to have her kid doing dance then with this studio at the school. And so I went with them to actually go to the school and like go in it. So for all of these years, I don't know how many years it was, but for several years, like having that thought process of, going there and being able to tour the place and, how would I react and what would I say, think, feel, blah, 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 whatever. And now it was actually able to become a reality. And so we went and we parked, and I got a little bit emotional before even exiting the car. So my friend left me there. And, I was finally like, okay, I'm ready to go in. So I went in and toured around, looking at, the different classrooms and the cafeteria, the gym, and all that sort of stuff. And that was interesting. And I might still have to like kind of process all of that, maybe. I'm not really sure, because I don't feel like I reacted a ton or a lot. I think I was wanting to react, but like I didn't really. And I don't know if that's because, there was other people there, like I wasn't alone. I wasn't necessarily able to do everything that I wanted while I was there. Like, I wanted to go into the gym, but like there was some teenage kid practicing his basketball, and I'm like, I'm not going in there. That would be awkward for the both of us, probably. Especially him, and just some random woman stranger coming in just to like look around the gym. And then I wanted to get into the 3rd grade classroom, and I wasn't able to do that either. So it is what it is, but I was at least able to go inside and at least, you know, walk down the halls and look around. So that was interesting. And then, so yesterday. Oh gosh, yesterday. So, yesterday, I had a little bit of a later flight. It wasn't like an early morning flight, which was nice. We didn't have to be up at the crack of dawn or before the crack of dawn to get me to the airport. So, I get on the flight, and, you know, I had a layover again. And this particular flight was a rather turbulent one. There was a lot of turbulence. Now, I've experienced turbulence before. It's nothing new to me. But it was like fairly consistent and like a decent amount of turbulence. Cause turbulence, like, you can go through like little blobs in the air where, you know, you'll feel a little bit of shaking and stuff, but it's like very little. You know, nothing really to speak of. But this was like, no, this was turbulence, okay? Like, and it was like a majority of the flight. Well, maybe not. There was a decent amount. It was a decent amount of the time. There was a decent amount of turbulence. I want to say. And that just it made for an interesting flight. But then also and that doesn't typically happen for me. So there was that aspect, but then there was also the aspect that I don't typically talk to my seatmates. I tend to be one of those people that, like, leave me alone. This is my bubble. That's your bubble. We just happen to need to have to sit next to each other, but we're not talking. But I had a hoodie on that had writing on it, and my seatmate strikes up a conversation about it, which that, like, has never really happened to me with stuff that I wear that has, like, writing or, you know, graphics on it or whatever, pictures or whatever. So we talk a little bit, like, at the beginning of the flight, and then we get through the flight, and then we're at the end of the flight, and we strike up more conversation, and we're, you know, we ended up talking, like, a decent amount, and, nice guy, but we ended up talking about, like, the subject of what was on my hoodie. We talked about, like, where we were going and, like, our destinations and stuff, and just it was very interesting, but nice guy. And then we get to that particular airport, and we were late in, like, getting into our gate and docking. And I see the amount of my layover shrink. It was like X amount of minutes, and now it's this X amount of minutes, and now it's this. I saw it shrinking. And I'm like, great. So instead of having a decent size layover, I'm going to have this amount of layover, and it's this amount of time to get from this gate to the gate that I need to go to for my next flight, which means by the time that time elapses, I'm not going to have a lot of time to like sit and chill before I have to get on my next flight. Great. So, get off the plane. I'm booking it to my next gate. I get there, and it's 13 minutes till boarding starts for my next flight. Great. So I'm like, okay, well, at least I'm here. I need to charge my phone because my phone was like at 24% battery or something. Like, there was not a lot left on the phone. So I go to sit down on these like cushion thingies that have like outlets in them, and I plug it into the one outlet, and it's not charging my phone. So then I try another outlet, and that's not charging my phone. So then I get up to like one of those chair desk kind of situations in the airport, and I try that outlet, and it works. And I'm like, okay, I can at least charge my phone for at least a few minutes, get more, battery into this thing, and or charged battery. And so I sit there for a few minutes, get my stuff, bring it over, sit there for a few minutes. It gets up to like 34% battery or something. And then I have to, I get up and I stand to, wait to get on my flight. I get on my flight. I sit down, and I've got this older gentleman next to me. And I pull up on this particular flight. Excuse me. It was one that had like the screens on the backs of the chairs. So I end up pulling up the flight map, and I can see in my periphery that he ends up looking at it a few times, a couple times, whatever, more than once. And so then he strikes up a conversation with me about that. So we talk for a little bit, and I'm like, I never talk to like anybody when I travel. And yesterday it was like the complete opposite. Both of my seatmates wanting to talk to me. And then he ended up needing to use the restroom. So there was more turbulence on this flight as well. So the turbulence continues, sort of thing, with flight number 2. And because of that, the seatbelt light is on. So you're not allowed to get up. And I see this gentleman next to me start like rocking back and forth. And and of course I register, okay, that's not normal, because he wasn't doing that before. And so finally, one of the stewardesses is going by to start like the food, drink stuff, whatever, that you can get on flights. And he's like, excuse me, I like really need to go to the bathroom, can I get up, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, you can get up and use the restroom. After that point, when he finally gets up to use the bathroom for the first time, I had to have gotten up like 3-4 times. Was it 3? It might have just been 3. More than once. I had to get up several times to let this guy use the bathroom. Again. And again. And then, like, one of the times that he gets up to use the bathroom, the other seatmate by the window, she decides to get up to use the bathroom, and then she comes back, she grabs her bag from the storage thing and goes to sit down. And then another time when this older gentleman gets up to use the bathroom, she gets up again to put her bag away. So I'm like getting up several times during the rest of this flight. Insane. And then I had the steward at the front of the plane that was like for first class, he ends up with us commoners in the back, and you know, collecting trash and stuff, and he sees what's written on my hoodie, and he strikes up a conversation with me, and I'm like, what is up with this today? I never, like, anytime I wear this kind of stuff out in public and nobody ever talks to me, and yet today of all days, I've had crazy turbulent travel. I've had both seatmates talk to me, a seatmate and a steward wanting to talk to me about my hoodie, like striking up a conversation due to what was written on my hoodie, and it's just like, what in the world? It was so weird. But then we landed safe and sound, and I got off the plane, got myself home, and here we are. What a week. What a week, you guys. I also, while I was at my friend's house, I go downstairs to where I was going to be sleeping, and it was like a finished basement sort of deal, basically. And so I bring my stuff down there to, you know, put it near where I was going to be sleeping and stuff. And when I get down there, I see this ball. And it immediately took me back to childhood, when I was still next door neighbors with this particular friend of mine. And I asked her, I'm like, where did you get this ball? She's like, I don't know. And then she goes on to like explain a possibility of where it might have come from, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then her husband comes downstairs, and I'm like, do you know where you got this ball? And he didn't know either. And I think he might have also given like the same possible explanation as my friend. And so I'm like, okay, I can deduce that they probably did not get it from us living next door to each other, but just the fact that like that particular kind of ball still exists was very strange to me. I ended up finally taking a picture of it and sending it to my older sibling. And my older sibling was like, where did you find this, or whatever? I told them, and they're like, thieves. It just, the interaction was really funny. And so that was kind of a blast from the past sort of situation. I do have a few photos that I can post of some different things. In fact, I can post that ball, I think. I might do some research to make sure it doesn't dox me in any way. And if it doesn't, I'll go ahead and post it. And then I took a picture of one of the centerpieces at the reception for the wedding. And then there might be some other pictures that I took that I could post as well. We'll see. Because I don't want to dox myself. So hopefully I'll be able to post some pictures here. I don't know when I would get around to posting them. So I guess just keep your eyes peeled and your ears open, because if I end up not being able to post pictures, I'll say something about it, maybe like in a stream, an upcoming stream or something. So yeah, that was my crazy week of happenings and travels. I tell you, man, my travels are typically uneventful, or at least mostly uneventful. And then it's like I start, I become a streamer, and then like my very first like big travel adventure after I become a streamer, and all of this stuff happens to me. Why? It's so weird. Oh gosh. Oh, I also took pictures of the snacks. So because we got stopped on the train for several hours, they have like these emergency snack things on the trains. So they ended up pulling those out, and they give them out for free. So I took pictures of those. So those I can post. So you'll at least get some pictures. You'll get those. So look forward to that whenever I get around to posting those. But yeah, other than that, I am back home, safe and sound, and maybe a little bit tired. I also wasn't feeling all that great last night or this morning either. So hopefully that goes away and doesn't turn into like something bigger. That wouldn't be nice. So yeah, that was my trip. I hope you all have been doing well while I've been gone, in a way, on my little adventure. But I'm back now, so we'll get back into the swing of things. I'll be doing Fields of Mystria tomorrow, just for a nice cozy stream to get back into things. And then next week we'll start up again with streaming as normal. So yeah. I think that's all I have. Which, that was enough. It was a week, let me tell you. It was a week. But hopefully it'll be nice here to get back into the swing of things with streaming and hanging out with you guys and doing fun stuff on here. So yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your day or evening, whichever time zone you're in the world. And I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow for some Fields of Mystria. And don't forget to read a book. All right. Bye.